My 13-year-old son froze in front of my wife's brand new car. He held my hand and whispered, "I don't want to get in." When I asked why, he trembled and said, "Look in the trunk." I slowly unlocked it, and what I saw made my heart stop. There are moments when your reality unhooks itself from time, and everything's sound, breath, even gravity falls quiet. That was one of them. The air was crisp that morning. A Saturday. The kind of morning when fathers take their sons for pancakes, not for this. The car was parked in our driveway. A shiny, white BMW X6. My wife, Nicole, had gotten it a week ago. A gift to herself, she called it. No warning. No discussion. Just showed up in it one evening, tossing the keys on the counter like they were receipts from the grocery store. "I'm working hard, babe," she had said with that trademark smirk. Don't I deserve nice things? We were already paying off a mortgage and 2 credit cards. But questioning Nicole meant inviting war. I'd learned to pick my battles over the years. This wasn't one I picked. But now, standing beside that car, holding my son Ethan's shaking hand, I realized this wasn't about a car at all. He didn't look at me, just kept his eyes glued to the trunk like it had whispered something to him. I pulled the key fob from my hoodie, my thumb hesitating over the button. I don't know why. I just felt it. Something primal. Wrong. Click. The trunk rose slowly. A hiss of hydraulics. My son buried his face in my sleeve. Inside wasn't blood. Wasn't a body. But it might as well have been. There were clothes. A man's hoodie. A pair of men's shoes, size 12 Nikes. Cologne. The expensive kind. One we'd never had in the house. There was also a silk tie. Black. Wrinkled like it had been yanked off in a hurry. And then, condom wrappers. 4 of them. Used. And worst of all, a hotel room keycard. I didn't speak. Couldn't. Everything inside me went still. Not angry. Not sad. Just frozen. Like the moment before a car crash. Your brain just refuses to catch up. "Dad," Ethan's voice was thin, cracking. "I didn't want to tell you, but last night, when Mom dropped me off at Uncle Jim's, she wasn't alone. There was someone in the front seat." He finally looked at me. Tears ran down both cheeks. I saw her kiss him. It wasn't like a friend. It was like those movies. I felt my knees give. I leaned on the trunk to steady myself. My wedding ring clinked against the metal. Nicole, my wife of 15 years. The woman I gave up a promotion for. The woman who told me she couldn't work full-time because being a mother is the real job. The same woman who now kept condoms and another man's hoodie in the back of her BMW. "Go inside, Ethan," I said, barely recognizing my own voice. "Go watch cartoons. I'll come in soon." He hesitated, then nodded. I watched him walk away, his steps slow, unsure. As soon as he disappeared behind the front door, I grabbed the hotel keycard. I turned it in my hands. Hotel Mariana, room 611. I'd driven past it before. Sleek. Private. Way out of our budget. A cold rage bloomed in my chest. She didn't just lie. She designed a double life. Suddenly, pieces started falling into place. The random spa weekends. The sudden gym obsession. The new lingerie I never saw her wear around me. The late-night meetings. I had been blind. Willfully blind. But no more. The clock in my mind started ticking. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to find out everything. And when I did, Nicole wouldn't even see it coming. I didn't sleep that night. Nicole came home late, of course. Around midnight. She crept in like a ghost, heels in one hand, purse in the other, hair slightly messy, like she didn't care. Lipstick smudged in a way that wasn't accidental. She walked into the bedroom and paused when she saw me sitting on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, holding the hotel keycard between 2 fingers. She blinked, but her face didn't change. Not guilt. Not surprise. Just a slow exhale and that look, like I just spilled wine on her carpet. "Where'd you get that?" she asked, tossing her heels in the closet. I didn't answer. She took off her earrings next. Calm. Composed. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum and she was waiting for it to pass. "So," she said, finally, "you've been snooping." I stood up. Walked over to her. Close enough to smell cologne that wasn't mine. "You kissed someone in front of our son." She raised an eyebrow. "Maybe if you hadn't turned into a boring tax calculator with a beer gut, I wouldn't have to." That one hit harder than I expected. She was always cruel when cornered. But this was calculated. Sharp. She wanted to cut deep. "You think this is about me?" I said, laughing. "You think you cheated because I made you bored?" She smiled, turned to the mirror, and started brushing her hair like we were done here. I didn't cheat, she said flatly. I evolved. You just didn't keep up. I swear I saw red. My fists clenched. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But Ethan was sleeping 2 doors away, and I wasn't going to let her make me the villain in this. I stepped back, my voice low, controlled. Who is he? Why do you care? She said, not even glancing back. You've been emotionally gone for years. I just finally decided to stop waiting. I asked you a question. She sighed dramatically. His name's Mason. He actually listens. He doesn't smell like printer ink and responsibility. I could feel something inside me start to crack, but I swallowed it. Mason, I repeated. Does Mason know you're married? That you have a son? She turned, finally. That smirk again. God, how I hated that smirk now. He knows everything. He just doesn't care. Why would he? I'm not your property. I stared at her like I was seeing a stranger. And maybe I was. Maybe the woman I married had been gone for years, and this was just the hollow shell she left behind, walking around in my house. You're disgusting, I said quietly. She laughed. Actually laughed. Please, spare me the morality act. You're not some saint. You're just boring. She walked past me, brushing her shoulder against mine like I wasn't even there. Don't wait up tomorrow night, she called as she disappeared into the bathroom. Mason's taking me to the lake house. The door shut. And just like that, my world fell apart. Not with a crash. Not with an explosion. With a whisper. With a shrug. With a smile from a woman who didn't love me anymore. Maybe never did. I stood in the quiet room for a long time, listening to the sound of water running behind the bathroom door, watching the moonlight reflect off the trunk key that was still in my pocket. And in that silence, I made a decision. She thought I would stay. She thought I was too weak, too soft, too dependent. She was wrong. She had no idea who she was married to, but she was about to find out. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. Not that I'd slept much, maybe an hour at best. My head was spinning, but my body moved with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Like I'd shed something heavy in the night, hope, maybe, or denial. Nicole was still asleep, sprawled diagonally across the bed like she owned the world and the people in it. Her phone buzzed twice on the nightstand. I didn't need to look. I already knew who it was. Mason. The savior. The upgrade. I got dressed in silence. Ethan was still asleep in his room, curled up the same way he used to as a toddler, one arm tucked under his head. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "We're gonna be okay, kiddo. I promise." Then I grabbed Nicole's keys from the bowl by the door and walked out to the car. The BMW glinted in the soft morning light like nothing had happened. Like it wasn't a moving tomb for my trust, for my marriage, for my peace. I unlocked the trunk again. Everything was still there, like the last act of a play that hadn't ended yet. This time, I took everything. The hoodie, the shoes, the cologne, the tie, the wrappers, the hotel keycard. I threw them all into a garbage bag and put it in my car. Not hers. Hers was about to be cleaned out and left somewhere far less convenient. I drove for an hour and parked the BMW in a sketchy part of the city. Left the doors unlocked and the windows halfway down. I hoped someone would take it, or scratch it, or key the word cheater into the side. I didn't care. It wasn't mine anymore. Not in any way that mattered. When I got back, Nicole was in the kitchen, wearing a silk robe, sipping coffee like she hadn't just burned our family to the ground. "Where's the car?" she asked, without looking up from her phone. I poured myself a glass of water, leaned on the counter, and stared at her like I was studying a predator in the wild. "Gone," I said. She finally looked up, her eyes narrowing. "What the hell does that mean?" I dropped it off. "Downtown. Doors unlocked. Keys in the console." Her face twitched. Just for a second. The cracks started to show. "You're insane," she said, standing up. "That's my car." "No," I said calmly. "It was paid for with our savings. Our card. Under my name. You want to argue? Let's take it to court. I'd love to bring up the hotel receipts." She opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. Also, I canceled all our joint accounts. Froze the credit cards. Changed the password to the bank app. You'll find your new life with Mason a little more budget conscious. Her hands balled into fists. "You think you can punish me?" I laughed. It came out darker than I expected. "No. I think I finally stopped letting you walk all over me. There's a difference." Her eyes narrowed. "You're pathetic." I stepped forward, close enough to smell her perfume, the same one she wore when we met. "No. I was a husband. A father. A man who gave everything to a woman who never deserved it. She scoffed and turned away, but I caught a tremble in her voice when she said, "Ethan's gonna hate you for this." That stopped me cold. And it was the first time I got truly furious. "Don't you dare drag him into this," I snapped. "You already used him as a cover while you paraded your side guy around town. Don't you dare act like you care now." She didn't answer, just stood there, silent, staring at the floor. I walked past her, grabbed my suitcase from the hall closet, and started packing. For the first time in years, I wasn't running away from something. I was walking toward freedom. Ethan didn't ask questions when I told him we were going away for a few days. He just nodded, zipped up his hoodie, and climbed into the front seat of my car like he already knew. We drove in silence most of the morning. I kept glancing at him, trying to find the right words. But what do you say to your kid when the one person he's supposed to trust the most has turned into a stranger? Somewhere between counties, he finally spoke. "Are you mad at me?" I looked over, startled. "What? Why would you think that?" "Because I told you about the car. And about Mom." My chest tightened. I pulled over, parked near a small lake off the road, and turned to face him completely. "Ethan," I said, "you didn't do anything wrong. You told me the truth. That's all I could ever ask." His eyes welled up. "I didn't want it to be true." "Me neither." We sat there, watching ducks float across the water. The breeze smelled like pine and wet earth. It should have been peaceful, but all I felt was that quiet ache of something breaking inside you slowly, deliberately. "I saw them once," he whispered. "At the gas station. Mom and that guy. She told me it was just her friend. But they were holding hands. Like, tight." I didn't say anything. My hand found his and squeezed. "And the worst part," he said, looking down, "is I didn't tell you then because I didn't want you to cry." That was the moment I broke. Not in anger, not in rage, but in grief. Real, soul-crushing grief. Because he had seen the signs before I had. And he protected me. A 13-year-old boy had carried that weight to spare his father. That's when I knew this wasn't just about Nicole anymore. It was about building something better from the ashes. For him. For both of us. We checked into a small roadside motel. Nothing fancy. 2 beds. Faded wallpaper. But it felt safe. Later that evening, my phone rang. "Nicole." I didn't answer. She called again. Then texted. "You really want to do this? You're embarrassing yourself." I blocked her. Then I opened my laptop and started writing an email. To my lawyer. I told him everything. The affair. The evidence. The receipts. The emotional neglect. I even attached photos I took of the stuff from the trunk. I laid it all out cold, clear, and without bitterness. I was done with emotion. Now it was about action. 2 hours later, I got a reply. "You have a solid case. We'll file for divorce and full custody immediately. Let's move fast." It felt like breathing for the first time in weeks. Ethan fell asleep early. I watched him, curled under the thin motel blanket, mouth slightly open, hair messy. Still just a kid. Still innocent, despite everything he'd seen. I promised myself, out loud, in that dark motel room, he will never have to feel that kind of betrayal again. Not while I'm around. The next morning, I woke up to an email. It was from a burner address. The subject line, "He's not who you think he is." Inside, photos. Mason. With another woman. Different city. Different hotel. Same cologne bottle in the background. Nicole had traded one life for another. And she was about to find out. I stared at the photos on my screen for a long time. Mason, the man Nicole had risked everything for, was wrapped around some brunette outside a hotel bar, his hand low on her waist, his face pressed to her neck like they were the only 2 people in the world. Another photo, same guy, different woman. Blonde. Younger. Sitting in his lap at a rooftop lounge with his hand disappearing under her dress. He was a collector. And Nicole was just another trinket on his shelf. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt cold. All the pieces were falling into place. Of course he didn't care that she was married. Of course he told her what she wanted to hear. She'd been so desperate to feel wanted again, to be admired like she used to be before motherhood, before the routine set in, that she never once considered she was being used. And now it was my turn to decide what to do with that knowledge. I could call her. Rub it in. Tell her what a fool she'd been. But no, that wasn't my style anymore. I forwarded the email to her. No message. No subject line. Just the images. And then I turned off my phone. Ethan and I spent the rest of the day outside. We got pancakes, played mini-golf, walked through a local nature trail. I hadn't seen him smile like that in months. maybe longer. It made something in me ache, thinking about how much I'd missed. All the times I was too tired from work, too distracted trying to make my marriage function when it was already rotting at the core. That night, back at the motel, Nicole's name appeared on the room phone's caller ID. I picked it up, quietly. There was silence for a few seconds on the other end. Then her voice came through, small and shaky. "Why did you send me that?" I didn't answer. She hesitated, like she wanted to cry, but didn't know how. "It's not what it looks like." Now that made me laugh. I couldn't help it. "You really going to feed me the same line you probably used on him? What's next?" "He's just a friend." She didn't like that. "I made a mistake, okay?" Her voice cracked, but I couldn't tell if it was real or just another act. I got caught up. Things were falling apart with us. "No," I said, cutting her off. "You were falling apart. And instead of talking to me, you opened your legs for a con artist." Silence. "You're disgusting," she whispered. I smiled. "No, Nicole. I'm done." More silence. "Ethan?" she asked quietly. "Can I talk to him?" "He's sleeping," I said. "And he doesn't want to talk to you." She started to say something else, but I hung up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel bad about it. The next morning, we drove home. I called the movers on the way back, told them what to pack, what to leave. By the time Nicole came home that evening, Ethan and I were gone. She didn't know where, and I didn't care. She had built her world on lies and selfishness. I was done living in it. A week passed. No calls, no messages, just silence. Nicole must have realized it was over. Or maybe she was too wrapped up in her mess with Mason, or whatever was left of it. I didn't care. She wasn't my problem anymore. Ethan started to open up more. He laughed louder, slept through the night, ate like he hadn't in months. The dark circles under his eyes began to fade. And every time he looked at me, I saw a little less fear and a little more trust. We moved into a small apartment. Nothing fancy, but clean, peaceful. The kind of place where you could hear yourself think. Where no one walked in late at night reeking of perfume and excuses. I found a new rhythm. Wake up, make breakfast, get Ethan to school, work remotely, cook dinner, movie nights on Fridays, and early morning walks on Sundays. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. It was mine. Then one day, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Nicole standing there, sunglasses hiding her eyes, arms crossed, posture rigid. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't say anything, just stepped outside and shut the door behind me. "Can we talk?" she asked. "No." Her jaw clenched. "I'm still his mother. Who lied to his face? Who exposed him to your affair? Who made him afraid to speak the truth?" She looked away. "I made mistakes," she said softly. "You made choices," I snapped. "There's a difference." She sighed, pulling off the sunglasses. Her eyes were bloodshot. She looked older, worn down. "Mason's gone," she said. I blinked. "And he used me, lied to me. He's with someone else now." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I know. I sent you the proof." She swallowed hard. "You were right. Too late." "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she said quickly. "I just want to see Ethan. Please." I crossed my arms. "Do you know what he said to me last night?" I asked. "He said, 'Dad, do you think Mom ever really loved you? You broke that boy in ways I don't even think you understand.'" Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't flinch. "I want to fix it." "You don't get to fix this in a day," I said. "You don't get to show up like a hero after blowing up the house." "I'll do whatever it takes," she whispered. I stared at her. "Hard. You want a chance to earn back his trust?" I asked. "Start by showing up to family therapy. Twice a week. No lies. No drama. Just honesty." She hesitated, then nodded. "Good," I said. "And don't expect hugs or smiles. This isn't a redemption arc. This is your consequence." She opened her mouth, but I was already walking back inside. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it, quietly, because I didn't need rage anymore. She was finally tasting what she served for years' emptiness, and I was done being her plate. Therapy began that following week. She showed up late to the first session, sunglasses on, coffee in hand like she was headed to a casual lunch, not the battlefield she made for herself. Ethan didn't speak a word the entire session, just sat next to me with his arms crossed, staring at the carpet. When she tried to greet him, he looked through her like she didn't exist. She flinched. The therapist, Dr. Green, was firm but fair. She didn't let Nicole skate. Asked hard questions. Probed deep. When Nicole tried to shift blame or play the "we were both unhappy" card, Dr. Green stopped her cold. "Nicole," she said calmly, "your son saw you kiss another man. Then he asked his father to check your car. That moment isn't about dissatisfaction. That's betrayal." Nicole cried. Maybe it was real. Maybe not. I didn't care. What mattered was Ethan. Watching him, week by week, start to understand that her lies weren't his fault. That none of it was. She asked for more time with him. Unsupervised visits. I said no. Not yet. Not until Ethan said he was ready. Not until trust meant more than just showing up in a parking lot with crocodile tears. Some nights she'd text me long, meandering messages. Half apologies, half attempts to remember the good times. I never replied. That part of my life, those memories, were poisoned now. Every laugh we shared was soaked in hindsight. Every kiss laced with the taste of what she'd done behind my back. Then came the message that stopped me. "I think I'm pregnant." I stared at the screen, breath stuck in my chest. My hands felt numb. Another Mason? A rebound? A last-ditch play for sympathy? I didn't respond. A week later she messaged again. False alarm. "I just thought you should know." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone through the wall. But Ethan was asleep in the next room, and I wouldn't let her drama infect his world again. Instead, I started doing something I hadn't done in years. I wrote. I opened my laptop and started journaling everything, what I felt, what I feared, what I wished I'd said. The numbness, the anger, the quiet nights where it felt like half my body was missing from the bed. And through the pages, I started stitching myself back together. Not with forgiveness, not with hope, but with honesty. Ethan started asking questions at night. Simple ones. Do you think she really loved us? Did you love her? Are you ever going to love someone else? I never lied to him. I think she loved us in her own way, but her love wasn't loyal. And that's not the kind we need. Yes, I did love her, even when she didn't deserve it. And finally, I don't know, kiddo. But if I do, she'll have to be better than your mom. Much better. He nodded like he understood. One night, months after the last session, Ethan said quietly, "I don't want to go back to her house. I feel sick when I think about it." And that was it. I called my lawyer the next morning. We filed for sole custody. Nicole fought it. She showed up in court with a polished smile and a desperate story. But when the judge asked Ethan directly, he said what needed to be said. She lied. And she made me lie too. I won. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. Because the boy who once whispered, "Look in the trunk," now stood tall beside me. And I wasn't going to let him be dragged into the wreckage again. The final court papers arrived in a thick white envelope. Sole custody, granted. Asset division, finalized. Visitation, at Ethan's discretion, supervised. I opened it alone at the kitchen table while Ethan was at school. It felt surreal, like signing the last page of a book you didn't want to read but had no choice but to finish. Nicole didn't reach out. No long emotional messages. No more fake apologies. I think, deep down, even she knew she'd burned every bridge she ever built with us. The house was quiet. Peaceful in a way it hadn't been in years. I got up, walked to Ethan's room, and stared at the shelf we built together. His trophies, his sketches, the baseball glove I'd patched twice with thread because he refused to replace it. His world was stable now. Rooted. That night, I took him out for burgers. Nothing fancy, just the same old diner we'd gone to every Friday before things started falling apart. We ate in a booth by the window. He dipped his fries in chocolate milkshake, grinning at my disgusted face. "Do you think it's over now?" he asked between bites. I nodded. "Yeah, I think it is." He looked relieved, but then his expression changed, like he was about to ask something deeper. "Are you happy now?" It caught me off guard. I had to think. "I'm getting there," I said honestly. "Happiness isn't a switch. But every day I don't feel like I'm drowning is a good one." He smiled and looked down, wiping his hands with a napkin. "I'm glad we left." "Me too," I wanted to say, but I didn't. I reached across the table, squeezed his hand once, and we sat in silence while people around us lived their own quiet lives. Later that week, I got an email from Nicole. Just a single sentence. "Tell him I'm sorry, even if he never wants to hear it from me." I didn't reply. Some things don't deserve closure. Some people don't deserve the final word. Months passed. Seasons changed. Ethan joined his school club, made new friends, got better at hiding the pain she left behind. I joined a local support group, met other men who'd been through similar storms. We talked. We laughed. We healed, piece by piece. I even started dating again, not seriously, not yet, but slowly. cautiously, learning to trust again. And one night, as I tucked Ethan into bed after a long day, he said something I'll never forget. You know, Dad, even though she left, I think I'm lucky. 'Cause I still have the one parent who stayed. That was the moment I knew. The worst part of my life hadn't destroyed me. It had shaped me. Not into someone bitter, not into someone broken, but into someone free. And if you're reading this, if you're the one gripping your own keycard, staring down your own wrecked trunk, trying to decide what to do next, then listen closely. You can survive this. You can rebuild. And one day, you'll stand in the silence of your own peace and realize you didn't lose. They just revealed themselves. And you walked away stronger.